From Barangaroo Studios, the ausbiz COB is the key stuff you need to know about the day in business and finance.
Good afternoon and welcome to the COB. This is, well, a fairly positive day. I'm Kyle Rotter and with Danny Ikuye, of course, and that CPI release, of course, giving us a little bit of a
boost, didn't it? Yeah, 11:30, that came out much better than expected at 6%, the quarterly figure year on year. And the market decided that it would take off and go to the races, which was nice to see.
Yep, and as you can see there, the CBO 200 up by around 0.9% by the end of trade. Cash trade on the ASX has finished, what's that, 0.76?
Yeah, about 0.8, yeah.
0.8, my apologies. And just a fraction below 7,400, but we'll see how things go in the match out.
Apparently it's a 5-month high, said Andrew Gagan.
Well, he said 5-year high to start with, didn't he? But we all got a little bit excited there. But no, 5-month high. 5-month high for the market there. And again, we'll see how we close. But I mean, we'll get straight to our three themes now because that's one of the big ones. Disinflation is the word. Can it continue? That is the question. And obviously, markets welcoming the quicker than expected fall in inflation for the time being. Again, still twice the top of the RBA's target band, so plenty of work to be done. But funnily enough, it's probably not going to be the biggest news for the next 24 hours because we have the Fed tomorrow morning.
Indeed, and it looks like the 25 basis point hike is baked in, but it's all going to be about what happens going forward. And really the markets will be looking for what rhetoric comes out of Powell in terms of, leaving the door open or not to further rate rises, which seems to be the consensus that he's definitely not going to say this is the end of the cycle, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, the markets are pricing in, again, like you said, basically a certainty that'll go 25. But the question is, is there more to come? And the Fed has pushed pretty aggressively in its recent projections as well as commentary from Fed speakers to suggest that they think that 2 more is going to be required, but the market just doesn't seem to want to listen. So could open up some volatility when that decision drops around 4 a.m. our time tomorrow morning. Of course, we'll cover it in the morning.
But not at 4 a.m.
Not at 4 a.m. Don't tune in to us at 4 a.m. We're not going to be here. But from 9:30 a.m. we'll get you across the news. But also takes us to the tech stock theme, tectonic. A few beats, I suppose, this morning. I think Alphabet was up after hours, I believe.
Alphabet, it looked like stronger advertising spend there. It is the laggard compared to Microsoft. I mean, a lot was baked into Microsoft. Apparently the market's a little bit disappointed about their AI expectations in terms of monetizing the AI component. So everyone's going to be looking to see how Copilot does when it's embedded in GitHub and 365. But again, it's kind of like Tesla and Netflix. I mean, when your share price is up that much, 50% in a year, I mean, really? I mean, it's off 3%, almost 4% in the aftermarket. It's a bit of a yawn, really.
Yeah, so was it Microsoft that was up after trade? No,
Alphabet
was up.
Alphabet
was up, Microsoft was
Alphabet
down.
was up by over 400 million US, which is the same size as Cisco. So you can get your head around the enormity of that price move.
Yeah, remarkable.
It is remarkable.
And we'll touch on it a bit, but we do have Meta tomorrow morning as well, which is also often market moving, or at least just entertaining, because that stock can move on earnings. But let's get across some of the sectors today that perform well, and most were higher, but the miners continue to push up. And we've obviously got the tailwind from this CPI figure today, but a lot of positivity, it has to be said, around this sort of China story again. Everyone seems to be sort of harping on about that today.
Yeah, really interesting. I was chatting with a gentleman from Platinum, and he said nobody had focused in on how they've changed the rhetoric from that property is a home, not an investment, which is really open.
Speculating.
Yeah, but it really opens the door now. Hopefully, he thinks that there is going to be more money flowing in as people look to upgrade their homes.
There you go. So some support there, and obviously that would flow through to, certainly areas of our market, maybe stabilise property there and boost commodity demand. But let's look at the banks. There you go. Another positive day.
Indeed.
Commonwealth Bank still holding above $105 per share. So a heavyweight in our market, supporting things as well. We had a few other sectors that were doing some good things. Retail for one, was also experiencing something of a bounce back, maybe as a proxy as well.
You mean the consumer,
Consumer
discretionary?
the retailers that we
Absolutely,
follow as well,
and that makes
right.
sense at the end of the day because they're highly, interest rate sensitive sectors.
For sure. There was some corporate news today, Danny, mostly production updates out of the resource space. So Beach Energy stock was higher today. Fourth quarter production was up 12% on the previous quarter. Sales volume were also higher. And we're going to be counting down to the full year results. That comes out on August 14th. Now, Aluka Resources also reported an increase in production at its core mineral sands products facility for the second quarter. Sales and revenue seem to be making a recovery there. However, first half revenue was still down nearly 10%. A cost issue there, in fact.
Cost issues are everywhere in the mining sector. It's constantly being flagged, but nevertheless, let's move on. Mineral Resources, lithium shipments have come in slightly below company guidance, with shipments of iron ore also lower in the fourth quarter, down 6%. Looking ahead, costs are expected to be at the upper end of company guidance, and that's in the range of $73 to $83 a tonne. However, rounding it all out in the gold space, Perseus Mining gold sales up 4% on the March quarter to over 140,000 tonnes, and they achieved an average sale price of the precious metal by 6% to just shy of $2,000 an ounce.
Yeah, and interesting to look at some of the price responses there, especially from MinRes, which just seems to be just sold down a lot recently. So maybe, well, a temporary bounce if nothing else, because on the surface the production update didn't look fantastic.
But the market seemed to like it.
Indeed. Okay, so maybe a bounce there. Perhaps the DA-cap variety, we'll have to wait and see. Also, some news in the I don't know if it was broader actually. Corporate travel management upgraded its guidance, which is the latest travel stock to sort of point to perhaps resilience in travel spend. I think everyone sort of expected to start seeing that petering out, but a little bit, was it Webjet Flight Centre perhaps a week ago?
I think it was Flight Centre
came out with an update, and the share price also rallied on that. Again, hopes that maybe elevated levels of travel spend could persist a little further. So
Indeed.
Corporate travel there finishing up by about 1% on that upgrade. But Austal.
Oh, what a train wreck.
What happened there?
That slashed its full year earnings forecast, now expecting EBIT to range between zero profit to a potential loss of around $10 million. And that compares from previous estimates of a $60 million profit. And basically they're citing that updates to its towing, salvage and rescue ship program for the reasons for the downgrade. But didn't they just come out the other day and said they just won a huge contract as well?
They had some American warship or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw just the company CEO out the front with, an American diplomat and
that was the Canberra, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was actually. Yeah, just talking how far the company's come.
I'm sure there's a few upset shareholders, to put it mildly.
I would have thought so, but it was our stock of the day, in fact, and Andrew Gagan had a chat with Henry Jennings and Andrew Violent about whether they'd be a buyer of Austal.
Chart there that we're just showing there at the moment, that 5-year chart, really does sort of sum up the business. It is a perennial disappointment in that everything should be in this company's favour. Everything should be in this company's favour, and yet they continue to find ways to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. I mean, I was just looking back over the last 3 months, broker consensus up 40%. So everyone was getting all hot and bothered relating to how things are going. And then, let's revisit our methodology and, instead of, guiding to a $58 million result, we could actually be down to minus 10. And, understatement of the day, clearly disappointing. I can think of lots of reasons not to be here. There's certainly going to be downgrades coming the next couple of days.
Of Harland and Wolff in Belfast that used to build ships. They built the Titanic. And as they rightly said about the Titanic, it was fine when it left here. The problem with Austal and the problem with shipbuilding is it's a tough game. Inflationary pressures everywhere. Why in the world you would think that this was immune to inflationary pressures, I have absolutely no idea. The trouble is, it's tough building ships. It is expensive, and it's a bit like doing your home reno. As soon as the guy, when you're doing it and you say to your builder, I just want to change this, I just want to put that in there, I want to put an ensuite in the captain's cabin, you are stuffed. And as a result, when you start changing things around, costs blow out, we've got inflationary pressures. This is one that we chucked out of the investment committee portfolio. I think I was partly responsible for chucking it out.
Okay, so pretty emphatic, doesn't want a bar of it. Was in the investment committee portfolio apparently, and well, Henry doesn't.
No one will fess up to that, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, Henry Jennings doesn't want to see it again, so it's not going to go there, that's for sure. And well, there you go. Some of the reasons why maybe Austal's not a fantastic buy in this environment. But let's get to our guest for the show today. Will Symes from Macro Capital joins us at the desk, and Will, it was all about inflation today.
Yeah, indeed. Look, quite a positive read. I think they're the lowest kind of rate of increases since September 2021. So below the RBA forecast in the May statement as well, which I think is a pretty significant point to be aware of, because if it's tracking below forecasts, the RBA may not be incentivised to continue with as aggressive a hiking cycle. And we certainly saw that in the futures markets, where they were originally pricing in a 54% chance of a hike on August 1st. It's now down to about 29% likelihood. So I think that's certainly quite positive to see. Also brought the peak cash rate to 4.3% pricing in. So less than one full hike to go if futures markets have it right. And obviously we're seeing the fruits of that on the market today as well, which kind of broke through to those kind of 5-month highs, and things are certainly starting to look quite positive domestically and obviously in the US as well.
Indeed, and we've obviously got the big FOMC meeting overnight.
Yes.
You know, I'm not sure you'll be up at 4 a.m.
Probably not. Hopefully sleeping.
Exactly. So look, the 25 basis point rise is pretty much baked in at this stage. What are you guys thinking about sort of the tone, the rhetoric, the mood that Powell is going to strike going forward?
I think, yeah, as you said, it's 99.8% priced in at this point in time, so that seems like more of a surety. But yeah, I think the rhetoric will certainly be the focus. Although it seems that futures markets are discounting the possibility of further hikes, I think it's possible that there could be a negative downside surprise if the language indicates that they may go a second time. But conversely, if they indicate that they're likely to only go one more, it's possible that we head higher from here, and markets are kind of appeased that they're pricing in what markets are expecting at the moment.
Because as well, consumer confidence data was out last night. It would seem it's not just investors getting excited perhaps about the prospect of lower inflation. US consumers are also becoming a little bit more confident.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the forecast there was 112, came in at 117. So it looks like everyone's starting to get a little bit more optimistic on where the economy's heading. Even Janet Yellen was quite pessimistic, and she had a pretty sharp shift to optimism recently, indicating that she thought it was unlikely the US is going to enter a recession. Goldman Sachs is currently only pricing in about a 20% likelihood of a recession as well. So I think holistically things are starting to look more positive, and we're starting to see that with futures markets pricing that in as well.
It's interesting though, because I actually heard LVMH was saying they're seeing a softening in their US clients. So you know, it's at the margin, though, the people that would want to go and buy their expensive handbags and belts, and even actually liquor as well. So yeah, it's interesting because there seem to be so many different readings, but nevertheless, those big reports out of Alphabet and Microsoft, they have big shoes to fill, and apparently Alphabet is filling them and some.
Yeah, look, I think the Alphabet report in particular was quite positive. Sales increase of 3%, revenue I think 7%, and then profit of 15%. So I think definitely serves to validate a bit of the rally that we've had this year, which I think is quite important. If they'd all kind of missed on expectations, I think we could be in for a pretty bumpy ride back down. But definitely positive report out of Alphabet, and they were up, I think, significantly, 7% or so in after hours trade. Microsoft as well, they had, I think, record profit and sales, and I think particularly they've had a bit of a heavier focus on AI and some of the projects they're implementing, and so starting to see some of the kind of profit accretive projects flowing through there. I think they did flag that the AI programs are certainly starting to jack up costs a little bit, and so I think there's a little bit of a hit to optimism there that it's going to take a little bit of a while for the AI to filter through into profits, but ultimately I think both were strong reports, and hopefully we'll see the markets kind of stabilise on the back of that.
Will, great wrap, always appreciated. Will Symes there from Macro Capital.
Thank you very much.
Let's get to the leaders and laggards now. See, what's closed up and what closed down. Beach Energy up by 6% for the session. And
and Champion Iron are also on the move as well as
Beach bouncing back after it was a production update the other day, wasn't it? That,
I
that
think
sort of
that
scuttled the stock a little bit. So higher for now. Pilbara Minerals and Mineral Resources. Pilbara we spoke about yesterday, just sort of recovering after that sell-off amongst the lithium miners to start the week.
Interestingly enough, the CEO I think is quoted in another financial news masthead, just saying that it's a bit ridiculous for the market to react so quickly over those futures pricing contracts in China. I mean, this is long term, etc.
Yeah, I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? It's just you get those little dislocations and perhaps inefficiencies that emerge in markets. And well, if you look at the price action over the last few days, maybe it was just simply a buying opportunity while those mechanics had to work themselves out. Let's get to some of the laggards now, and the bottom of the market. Well, the losses were few and far between. Imugene is just volatile, and it's a 9-cent stock, so that's what 0.3 cent move, 0.003 cent move. We can't look too much into that. Ingenia, Venture Services, ALS, anything that jumps out to you there?
No. Sorry,
it all seems pretty piecemeal, pretty narrow. Again, it's broad-based. Whenever you get rate expectations moderating like this, it's one of those rising tides lifting all boats situations. But let's look at the small caps now, leaders to begin with. And there we go. Redbubble, that's a consumer favourite, so maybe a very high and very speculative bet on a recovery
Blast
in
from the
Australian
past,
consumers.
hey?
Yeah, well, everyone loved Redbubble for a while, didn't they?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I never saw that, but anyway.
Laggards now in the small cap space. Anything there that jumps out? Let's have a look. There we go. Several names that I don't know. Murray Cod. There you go. Down 8.8%.
Yeah.
Something going on in the Murray Darling at the moment?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Neither am I. Okay. What's on tonight?
Oh, let's guess.
A lot. FOMC statement, that'll drop at 4 a.m. If you're feeling a little less intrepid than that, the speech normally starts at about 5:30, so you can tune in for that perhaps, or at least on your way to work if you're an early riser. But US earnings, Meta, AT&T, Boeing and Coca-Cola.
Indeed, AT&T's been in a world of pain over the speculation that they've got all their cables covered in lead and they're going to have to replace them.
Right, interesting. Also a good proxy when it comes to the US consumer arrears. So move the market last quarter when it reported an increase.
I think Coke margins will be the interesting ones.
Yeah, interesting in that one.
Yeah, well, not only from the perspective of seeing whether or not that you are seeing some margin pressure, because a lot of those companies like Coke and Pepsi, they put in quite, decent price rises, and whether or not, they talk about pricing power being reduced now and pressure on margins, etc.
You've always said you're a Pepsi woman though, aren't you?
Yeah, but it's just don't say that. They're dreadful stocks, but yes, I do own it. Well, I guess if Warren Buffett can own Pepsi, I mean Coke, I can own Pepsi. But Boeing, it'll be interesting as well.
Yep, another one. Let's look at what we've got in the day ahead. And actually there's, a sort of smattering of news, I suppose. Production reports, Fortescue's one of them. Several companies starting to report results as well, and an AGM from Macquarie
Rio's
Group.
due to come out.
And there you go, beat me to it. Rio's any moment now, really. So I don't know if that has managed to drop just yet. Of course, will come out at the beginning of London trade.
Absolutely.
But nothing there that I've got in terms of expectations. It might be another sort of 20 minutes, half an hour. So we can't break that news for you, but keep an eye out for that because it will be out in the next 30 minutes or so, and we will be digesting that tomorrow.
Exactly.
Okay, well, let's look at the market one more time, and maybe get a look at the ASX too, of course.
So the ASX 200, currently it looked like it perked up a wee bit towards the end, up 62.3 points to 7,402 on the dot, and that's 0.85%.
There you go, right at the top of the range at the moment. So we'll see if we can push on through, or perhaps we might see another sell-off. I dare say maybe the Fed will set us up for, either a further run on tonight or tomorrow morning, or maybe a pullback. We'll wait and see. But in the meantime, remember you can catch up on all the news and interviews on your website and app. Otherwise, have a lovely evening, and we will see you bright and early tomorrow morning.